Hello and welcome to the Winners Underway Show, part two of winning ways how to win. We had the first segment talking all about a little bit of our impact and how we got where we are today, the audit of excellence, kind of my journey into some of that time of excellence. If you want to have a meeting with me, Coach Trent, I am the CEO of Leadershipity, a serial entrepreneur, a Bloom growth coach. I wrote a book called Leading Winning Teams. I also offer a book called Flourish, which is the playbook for how we do a lot of the growth work. And I offer that for anybody who wants to book a appointment with me right there. Jump on my Calendly. I'd love to help you get unstuck. I am a president of EO West Michigan for the Entrepreneurs Organization this year. Thrilled to be doing that. And of course, I am also a coach, a three-time coach in the World Series in Major League Baseball, probably what I'm most known for, as well as speaking. So I'm always excited to be on their show. Winners Find a Way. And I do love, I love the fact that when we do these shows, we always talk about winners find a way. Winners, when shown data that they are losing, find a way to win. And how do they do that? They execute, execute, execute. They take action. They win every day. We left off session one with you win the days, you win the weeks. You win the weeks, you win the months. You win the months, you win the quarters. You win the quarters, you win the years, right? Consistency matters. That's how we get it done at this level. And so I'm always pushing for, hey, how can we do this really well and really own our stuff? So one of the biggest things I see in people that want to own that day, I always look at like, hey, what are you doing 6 days a week? How are you maximizing? A lot of people only work 5 days. Entrepreneurs tend to work 6 days. They have to do things on the weekend. And I want that daily plan. I want them to consider writing down the 5 most important things they do every day and have to do that's going to move the needle, that's going to be pertinent to their success, often tied to their to-dos in their daily and weekly huddles and meetings that move the needle on their quarterly priority. So these are aligned and tied to what needs to get done, and they're moving on that. And so what we see is most people get the 3 most important things done. After those 5 are written down, number them 1 through 5, 1, 2, 3, and the top 3 most impactful per day get done. If you have 25 team members and they're doing that each and every day at 75 of the most impactful, important, highest priority items a day, that times a week, right, adds up. That times 50 weeks is 18,750 of the highest priority items. So you can see very quickly on a 25-person team how you can have major impact. It'll automatically put you in the top 20%. And think about that. As you add 25 more members with growth, you add to that number, and all of a sudden you're doing over 37,000 of the most impactful things because people on your team understand prioritization. They understand doing what's important, knowing their role, and meeting those demands for their weekly meetings, their quarterly priorities. And so when that happens, all of a sudden you become doing the 37,000 most impactful items, and you launch yourself into the top 5%. And so these are things that we're doing as each person being intentional. Top 3, writing it down each day. If you're not doing that today, write down those things, number them 1, 2, 3. And here's a huge hack. Once you have it, once you've written it down and numbered it, now let's put it into the digital, right? Now the digital means I look at my calendar, where's my gaps? So if I'm going to do number 1 before my first meeting, I might be working in the office from 7:30 to 8:30, knocking out number 1. And then number 2 is going to fall after my 11 a.m. meeting, between 11 and 11:45, before I go to a lunch meeting. So I got 45 minutes. As long as I've completed number 1 in my allotted time, I'm doing number 2. If I have not completed number 1, I finish number 1 in that allotted time and start number 2. I look for gaps in the afternoon. Where will my number 2, number 3 go? I'm looking to put that digitally in action. So I'm intentional and working that. So put it into action. Again, the Winners Find a Way show. We've been out here a long time being intentional about how this works. I have a lot of people. Are you a winner? How do you win? One superpower separator. People ask me, do you think I'm a winner? Hey, let's talk about what you're doing every day to win. What does that look like? Are you surrounding yourself with the best team members? How are those things going? And like, how do we win? What does winning look like in our world? Because that's different in different categories of business, in different organizations, in different sports. Winning looks different, right? And so we have to look and build that out of what winning means to us. So how do we win? What does it mean to us? What does winning look like? Let's build that. And then we know the roadmap. We start with the winning in mind and what that looks like. Then we build the roadmap of how to get there. And I think that's really important if we know the end game. So as a leader, I talk about this in leading winning teams. Like we have to model and become who they need you to be. And I used to have this big poster up in my weight room for all the baseball teams. Like act like a success, and before long you will be. Act like a success, and before long you will be. So if we're acting like a success, what does that mean for my role in my industry? What does a success look like? I could take polls of my mentors. I could ask other people to have my position in other organizations. I could ask my colleagues who have that position in another department. I could ask my boss. What does it look like? What does success look like? What do we want? Because once you know that, then you know how to model it. Then you know how to become who they need you to be. And so that's a huge deal for me. And when we do this, I talk about the pyramid of leadershipity because that's about accountability for leaders. So when I think about that, I need that. How do I start winning? Well, the first thing to do is build that foundation, right? The cornerstones of integrity and humility as a leader, those are going to be big things. Doing what you say, certainly doing the things you're supposed to be doing, even when no one's watching. That's integrity, right? We're establishing this baseline of both morality and authority. We need humility in our leaders. We don't have all the answers. We're going to need our team around us. We need to come alongside our team members and create value for everybody and be a team that works cohesively. Then I like the three in the middle: spirituality, have a sense of higher power. What does that mean for my values? I know it's not all about me. Stability, that's critical. Are you a stable person? Do you deliver quality? Do we have quality in our work? Do we have quality in our product? Do you project that quality in everything that you do? These foundational things in morality and authority are relentless pursuits of just always becoming better. Then you go to who we need on our team. We need team men. We want flexibility and reliability in our team. So we're building teams of aces. They're cards: coachability, adaptability, responsibility. And if they do those three things over and over and over again, we get dependability, which I love. Those are four big idiots. And then, of course, as a team, we all come together in clarity and simplicity. And this is talking about accountability and communication within our team. We have authenticity and vulnerability on those corners, and visibility as leaders. You got to show up. You got to be there. You got to be where you're supposed to be. Show them that you're doing the work. Show them you're getting ahead. This is what I'm willing to do. And then make sure that it's visible what we're actually accomplishing, and talk about that with your team members all the time. And then again, coming back to what are we looking for as we grow our team out? We want creativity, we want community, we got diversity and all sorts of things, economics, backgrounds, families, all sorts of different ways that we're going to have diversity in that, and we're going to have unity towards our goal. Those are two huge idiots right there that we want. We don't need to think all alike, have the same experiences, but we do need unity about the direction we're going, how we're going to do it. Because if we can get all those things right, we get productivity each and every time, and we get results, and that's a big deal. So as you look at that pyramid of leadershipity, which all leads us back to accountability, and that's a massive undertaking. So who do you need to become this winner? If you're going to win, who do you need to become? So you're not shaping that based on what you've learned out of those exercises, and taking those actions and building that foundation. I love Bill Belichick. It's a Bill Belichick check, which is, I will know when we have a good team when everyone in the organization knows their job and they're doing it. I love that. As a longtime coach who's been to the Super Bowl more than any other coach, you start talking about, like, well, the funny things about breaking it down into simplicity is awesome. And I like that. And I think the challenge in that is that a lot of people think simple is easy. Simple is not easy. People knowing their job, communicating that really well, their roles, and then making sure they're holding them accountable to do their job at the highest level. Man, that's simple, right? But like, that's hard to execute. This is about execution now, about people doing what they said they would do, following up, being aligned, having those people who are watching and learning and growing and coaching and assisting team members to be the best collaborators and be the best part of their team they can be. When I look about, team members, we often get these like, man, these great teams are investing in getting the right players. Like, what is your strategy to get the right players? I ask a lot of organizations, what are you doing to attract high talent? And when you have a really outstanding organization that gets results, that's a way to attract talent because people want to work for that organization because they see the results. So that's awesome. But that's not the only challenge you have, right? We've got to look for that avatar of what we want in that. We want lifelong learners and we're looking for them and we have to be one. Feedback is formidable. We take it, and when we give it, it's pointed, it's with direction, it's very specific. Our opportunities exist, so we keep an open mind because there's always another opportunity there. So we're ready as leaders. We have an entrepreneurial mentality. How does it work? How do we make money? Urgent, opportunistic, team needs, and impact players. That's who we want. We want to prioritize by importance and focus. That's what we're looking at when we get a team. And I think there's one challenge about leadership now is leadership's 24/7. The world is watching all the time. One of the challenges I think that's coming into the Gen Zers and the millennials as they take on a lot of big corporate jobs for the first time is you've been chosen. You're a first round draft choice. When organizations put out a big RFP or a resume search and they go to all these searches and they get in, they get 80 names, and then all of a sudden they're going to filter that down to 20 phone interviews, and then off the phone interviews they're going to bring 8 people in, and then 8 people are going to get, 4 are going to get called back for another interview, and then 3 are going to get a full day of interview and the pull press and meet teams, and then they're going to narrow it down to the 2 that they're going to present to the leadership team of who they think is best, and one's going to get chosen. One. Man, this is a first round draft choice. Like, you got all these players and they have all the skills, they have the qualifications, they have all these things, and they rooted out 3/4 off paper. They didn't even meet those people. Off paper, they've ruled it out because they have non-negotiables that they don't have, that they need. So how much was your cost to get your top performer? And one of the challenges I think that the millennials and the Zers don't know is that you're coming off your Starbucks job or your college university hourly job, and now you're going into a career and they put tons of money and effort into you. You cannot have the same mentality as this part-time job as you're going to have in your career that you've been trained up for and ready to work in. And I think that's a real challenge. I don't know if people always get these new employees ready for what's about to happen. And man, it's all about contribution and productivity. You got to earn it. It's never given. And now they're watching and measuring what you've earned, how much you create, how much value you bring. What is your contribution? And companies have all sorts of measurements. Organizations measure that in 1,000 different ways. But you better know how do we measure that? Educate your team on what you're measuring them on, so they know what needs to happen. And I tell you, I love this Herb Brooks quote, right? I don't need the best players, I need the right players. I love that from the 1980 U.S. Olympic hockey coach who stunned the Russians in probably one of the biggest upsets of all time. I mean, just understanding that, like, I'm looking for leader mentality, competitiveness, personality, style, emotional intelligence, culture and background, experience, work performance history that you've done what I'm asking you to do. You got potential and coachability, adaptability. Your learning style aligns with how we can get you there. There's sometimes qualifications of certifications or degrees or experience, and then there's the relationship skills and the soft skills and resourcefulness. Then of course your desire and drive, and it's a lot. And so everyone's like, oh well, this one person has super talented, and he sent people home like, listen, you missed some of the fastest skaters. You didn't choose some of the fastest players. He's like, yeah, I don't need those players. I don't need the best players. I need the right players. They've got these intangible skills. And I love this right here that I don't see a lot of people use, but these are typically non-negotiables for anyone who's going to be a part of a championship team, these are non-negotiables. Like you start here, and no skill is required for any of these 10, right? Being on time, having a good work ethic, showing effort, excellent body language, bringing energy every day, a positive attitude every day, passion for what you're doing, being coachable, doing extra, and being prepared. Like there is no skill required in any of those 10 things. And if you don't even have those and you say, oh, I do like 6 of those, and the other 4, well, I don't feel like it. And showing up in your body language, and showing up in your effort, showing up in your attitude. And I don't think you have a passion for this. Like, you don't need a degree to do these 10 things. And this is why people are getting ahead, is that they're realizing, man, I don't need a bunch of skills to bring a lot of contribution. And so when they figure that out, that's a big deal. We talked about those aces, right? The cards, our first round draft choices, the coachability, right? This is how we win because they take feedback and learn fast. Adaptability, physically and mentally prepared to adapt. We're going to have to change, and we're okay with that. We're ready to change. Responsibility, know your role and take ownership of your responsibilities. Dependability, do the above every single time. Those 3 things. You never know what the opportunity will bring. The chance to increase your skill set. You work at it, you give your best effort. People notice that. They see you another, want to take you out of an organization to another and a better opportunity. And then, of course, you create more to offer by doing these things and getting better at that. So you're all of a sudden more desirable. Such a big deal. One of the challenges and assessments that I want to think about when I see my team members, I love that grit formula, right? Because effort counts twice. And when I look at that, I always have this little scale of scoring. And so when I have this, I'm like, man, how could I do this and really create that value that I'm looking for? So, when you look at some of the best players of all time, like a Tom Brady, he started out as a 6 talent with 10 effort, right? And 6 times 10 equals 60. That's awesome. So we drop the skill down to those 60 again times 10 is 600. So he's coming out of college as a real pro performer. But people miss that because they were looking at his body. They were looking at, how fast he could run, how high he could jump. And they were measuring the wrong things, right? They didn't understand this guy's effort level, this guy's level of preparedness, this guy's achievement potential was big. And of course, because of his effort level being a 10, it wasn't very long that he's in the league and his 6 becomes a 7. So now he's a 700. And then he keeps progressing and he becomes an 8. Then he's an 800. Man, now this guy's in one of the top leaders. And he's only in 4 or 5 years into the league. Now, after another decade in the league, he's a top talent because the effort's there every day. And now, man, 10,000 hours is 5 years. So he gets 10 more years, a decade into this. And now the guy's got a cumulative total of 15,000 hours in the league. And his talent from 8 went to a 9, maybe a 9.5. This guy's a 900, 950 all day long. This is why he's the GOAT. This is why he's elite, because the effort never let up. He never let up. So his achievements just kept rising, and he makes everybody better around him. That's what effort does. They see the effort, and it's almost like contagious, right? You see someone who's successful, and you see their effort. Like, man, if I do effort like that, I will get results. So we want to see that in our teams. And I love this book. Recommend this a lot. The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team by Patrick Lencioni. A great read. And it's a little business fable about the challenges you have in teams and their challenges that they go. But here's the 5 behaviors of a cohesive team, right? This is in remedy to the 5 behaviors of a dysfunctional team. A cohesive team builds trust as the baseline. They master conflict because, let's face it, there's going to be conflict on teams. There's going to be conflicts in whatever you're doing. In fact, as a person who has a job, you're hired because you solve things. That's why you address the conflict. If you don't solve and don't address any of the conflicts that happen, they probably don't need you. So think about, like, if you don't like conflict, you better get good at it, because this is a lot of the reasons why people are hired and in their position. So then we achieve commitment. And here's the nice thing about achieving commitment. When you have a good team that trusts each other, all conflict is conflict becomes a search for what's really good and right and the best way. And if we trust each other, we can set our personal backgrounds and beliefs and all those things set aside. We're just looking for the best possible result and the best possible way to do things. And so we achieve that together. And so that is mastering conflict. That is productive conflict. Most people think of conflict and they think it's non-productive. It's um, challenging. It's a setback. And conflict's bad. Well, if we, let's reframe our mindset on this because it's not all bad. When we achieve, that chance, I heard a great story about Will Gandara today. Will is the author and has the best restaurant in the world, right, in New York, voted #1 in the world, and he wrote, the book Unreasonable Hospitality, right? And he said, like, man, don't ever let adversity go to waste. And I was like, man, that's so right. Because when there's adversity, there's going to be conflict. And when conflict arises, we're going to solve stuff. That means we're going to all get better. That's great. Adversity means chance to get better. Oh, we got some adversity, chance to get better. Great. We're going to come out of it stronger. We achieve that commitment. We embrace accountability around fixing it, repairing it. What do we need to do? Our roles and responsibilities. We embrace accountability in our organization to get things done and be people of our word for our clients, for our vendors, for each other. So important. And then amazing, we get results. We know what the results we want are. We're focused on getting the right results. And I think that's what really top teams do, especially cohesive teams. So when you talk about these surveys, like when coworkers admit their mistakes, does it make you trust them more? 84% said yes, they're building trust. They're showing some humility, like, man, I made a mistake. Right. If your teammates trust you, they want to trust you more. You admit to that. We build that trust through confidentiality, vulnerability, authenticity, and dependability. That's how we're gonna build trust. Of course, I love Ted Lasso, right? And then we start believing in each other, how to be exceptional. What are we gonna do in that belief one another? We're trying to have impact. We're trying to create the winning way and be exceptional. So I love this quote by Ken Manny. Be exceptional. Don't just go the extra mile. Build your house on it. Well, if you think about some of the top people in the world and in your city who've really performed and contributed, made impact for the city, think about where they live. they built their house on the extra mile and they've got thousands of square feet. They've listed these beautiful homes and they've built beautiful buildings and businesses, and they have a lot of extra on the extra mile that they've built. They build it and they sustain it because they have impact all the time. It's a big deal. So, what's your winning look like? What's your North Star? Let's define that. What's our one goal that makes us different than everybody else? And then as leaders, once we define that, we don't always need the team's agreement, but we do need their alignment on how we get there. People are going to have some different opinions and different thoughts, and sometimes we're going to listen to that. That's great. But there's a time where we got to call the plays and we just need alignment. We don't need, if you got a football game, you got one quarterback who walks in and calls the plays, and we need all 11 players aligned. You don't need 7 play callers in the huddle. You don't need an argument and a debate in the huddle on if they agree whether this is a good play or not. We do not have the time. We prepare for it. We build that. There's a time for the questioning and how we prepare and how we get there. And then there's a time to execute. And then so we do not need your agreement now. We just need your alignment. And so we have to get there with our teams about addressing that. We do that the right way. Live the dream. I love that. Live the dream from Henry David Thoreau. Live the life you've imagined, right? What most people don't know about that famous line of live the life you've imagined is the one before it. Go confidently in the direction of your dreams. Such a big deal. Go confidently in the direction of your dreams, because you go confidently because you set goals. You put them in place. And now you're moving in a direction with a plan. And then you live the life you've imagined. And as David Thoreau says, as you simplify your life, the law of the universe will be simpler. Your life becomes more simple when it's focused, because you don't have all these extraneous things coming in and out, because that's just peripheral activity. It's not part of your direction. It's not part of your commitment. so you don't need to spend time and energy with it. So things get simpler. That's that 10x versus 10x is easier than 2x law, right? Is when we focus on just the right three things, we stop worrying about the 200 things we need to do, because we can spread that out across teams as long as all the 200 fall up under these three and moving towards that direction. So we get focused on that. We simplify. As you go in and you lead, if you continue winning like a Nick Saban, right? Who I learned a lot of process from when I was coaching with him at Michigan State. He just leaves a legacy, right? Again, Maximus, right? What we do in life echoes in eternity. And people leave a legacy when they get focused and prioritize properly. And I just love that. So for everybody, I love it. Again, you can reach out to me on if you're stuck having challenges. Here's my contact information. There's my mobile number. I give that out. I know people think that's crazy. Like, please, you're welcome to text me. You're welcome to call me. If you act silly, I will block you. Like, that's crazy. But my socials are all there. Hey, you want to utilize tools that are going to continue to create value and contribution for your team. And so for us, I think one of the big things that as you get like in your direction on how you win, you've got all these tools at your mercy. It's amazing how many tools are now out there. These phones are incredible. As an EO member, big shout out to Blinkist, one of our partners. Like, books in 15 minutes, both written and audio. And one of the biggest features in that is that for years, I've used my Evernote to sync to my Blinkist account, and I take notes on my Blinkist books that I read, and it automatically would sync to my Evernote, which I just love that feature. Such a big deal. And hyper learning and staying focused on what we need to do and building your teams about that. So have those recap, that daily impact. Get your top three things. Understand where you're getting your teammates. What's the avatar? What are your values? Your core values are going to play a role in who you hire, who you want on as team members, all those things. Book a 15-minute call with me. Here's the link. Book that on my Calendly, and I'm happy to help you get unstuck, give you some ideas, listen to you, have 15 minutes. Also, if you join a call with me, I will send you a copy of Flourish, the playbook of how we do a lot of work in bloom, growth, and scale companies very quickly, and a lot of fun, and get them aligned. So for everybody on Winning Ways, little talk on 2-part series of how to win. If you missed part 1, please go check that out. That was a great episode we did on Thursday, March 12th. And so, today being March 19th is our newest episode. You can check those out. Those are on all the podcast networks, of course. And you can check those out at Spotify, Apple, all the good things there too. So until next time, I look forward to seeing you, and winners find a way, and continue your winning way.